Hi, welcome to Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. We're broadcasting out of WLBE Real Country 790 AM out of Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching us on television, you're doing so on Lake Sumter TV, Comcast Channel 13, Bright House 498, and Century Prism Channel 83. I've invited a lawyer from the law office of Jeremiah Allen, Mr. Jeremiah Allen himself. And we're going to discuss some little-known facts and some what-to-dos from the legal aspect. So, Jeremiah, thank you for coming onto the show.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. It's nice to be up here in Lake County, and thanks for having me in.
Right. Now, you used to familiarize yourself up here, right?
I did. I lived in Zellwood as a kid growing up for a couple of years. So sometimes rather than going down to Orlando, we'd come up here to Leesburg on Friday or Saturday nights and get some food. So, yeah, this is a beautiful area of the state, and it's nice being here.
Now, did you get in trouble while you were up here, and that's why you decided to go into the law?
I was a pretty good kid. I didn't get in too much trouble. I like to, run around the woods a little bit. Other than that, not too bad.
Okay, so then why did you decide to become a lawyer? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Chris, I was always kind of been a fan of the underdog. I mean, whether it was watching sports or maybe I was the new kid at school quite a bit growing up. So I always kind of liked the underdog and being able to help the underdog. And I had a professor in law school. He said, just remember that before you were a lawyer, you were a person. So that kind of really stuck to me. And after I got out of law school, decided that I was going to be represent people, not corporations, and work and be a criminal defense attorney and a plaintiff's attorney and be in the courtroom and fight for those individuals.
Okay, so then what exactly does your law firm specialize in, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I'm a small law firm. I mean, I'm the only attorney, but the focus and concentration is criminal defense. I was a state prosecutor over in St. Pete in Pinellas County for almost 7 years, about 6.5 years. So saw a lot of cases, a lot of criminal cases, a lot of courtroom experience, a lot of trial experience being a former prosecutor. So I do the criminal defense stuff, and then also I do civil work. So I'll represent people who are injured in auto accidents, slip and falls, representing plaintiffs in civil cases, getting damages, suing insurance companies for injury. So those are two main concentrations. Also do things like, I'll do traffic citations occasionally, speeding tickets, careless driving tickets, and criminal DUI cases. So yeah, those two things seem to keep me pretty busy. And as you know, if you drive here in Central Florida for too long, that our roads can be treacherous, a lot of traffic, and it's not uncommon for people to get in serious automobile accident cases and get injured, or find themselves in a bad situation after whether it's reckless driving or a speeding ticket, things like that. So those are nice areas to be in, and we have so much, as you know, so much growth here. I mean, we have people from, especially here in Lake County. I mean, we have people from really all over the United States and all over the world that want to come and live in the sunshine. And we've got a good economy. So people coming from come to live in the villages from all over and come and live near Disney World. So when those folks come down, they add to significantly to our population, and it ends up being a lot of legal work out there for lawyers like myself.
Okay, now you said that you've spent a lot of time as a trial lawyer. Mm-hmm. Just for the layman out there, because I just automatically assumed that all lawyers are trial lawyers, but that's not really the case, is it?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's passed the Florida bar is allowed to go into court and try a case. But some lawyers may be more focused on real estate transactions or writing wills or forming corporations or giving tax advice. Other lawyers like myself generally are in front of juries and judges and litigating cases in the courtroom and it's a little different skill. It's you've got to be think on your feet. There's a lot of work that goes into it. A lot of work that goes into your case before you get to the jury trial or the courtroom. And you've got to do investigation for your client, whether that's a injury case or a criminal case. Locate witnesses, do depositions. So there is a lot of work that goes into preparing and in getting that case ready for a jury or for a judge outside the courtroom. But the legal world being what it is, things are complex. So more and more, I think lawyers are specializing in different fields. And it used to be, I think, years ago that people were or lawyers were more generalists, general practitioners. They would kind of do everything. They do the real estate closings, they do the wills,
right, you'd have your own family lawyer person.
Yeah, you'd have the one guy's family lawyer. Now it's people have I think just the complexity of things now has gotten lawyers to kind of focus on particular things at one time.
Okay, so then it's fair to say it's pretty important to have a trial lawyer if you're going to court for a trial.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah, you want to go in, and I think I'd recommend to anyone if you're in need of a criminal defense attorney, let's say, you're going to want to go talk to a few folks, ask them about their background, if they worked as a prosecutor or a public defender, what they did immediately after law school, how many criminal cases they've tried in their career. What types of law does their firm focus on? And then talk to those people and kind of see who you feel comfortable with. Ask questions. How many times they've handled a case similar to yours, and just get as much information as you can before you make that big decision.
So, okay, basically, again, the world is changing, is becoming more complicated, and you're not going to call a plumber to fix your refrigerator.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Both technicians, both
Sure.
can read schematics,
Yeah.
both are intelligent,
Yeah.
both can do it.
Yeah.
But you're going to go. It's important to find the right person.
Yeah.
for you.
To do your homework, and the internet's made internet's made that easier. Before
Sure.
it was maybe you look in the yellow pages or ask a friend, but now you can do your research. You can look online. You can you can easily find the phone numbers of 3 or 4 lawyers that you may want to talk to, and you can go and speak with them, look at their qualifications online or in person, and and then find the best person for the job.
Okay. Now, it's going to sound silly, but when should someone get a lawyer?
Well,
Because
yeah.
I know a lot of times, like, you always hear it, I'm
Right.
going to go get my lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, okay, no, that doesn't really warrant that. But what scenarios should people be aware of that actually warrant, getting in contact with a lawyer and having that type of representation?
Well, the good news is, I mean, most attorneys in a lot in my areas, criminal defense and personal injury. I mean, you will get a free consultation, so you can call them and get them on the phone fairly quickly, and kind of get a 10-minute conversation about your case and your situation. And make an appointment for more detailed information. But obviously, as a former prosecutor, if you're contacted by law enforcement about a criminal situation, and they want to ask you questions at the police station or kind of talk to you, it's in most cases, in my experience, it's been a good idea to call a lawyer first and then have that lawyer communicate with law enforcement. If you're in an auto accident or you have a slip and fall case, I'd also encourage you to speak with a lawyer as soon as possible. A lot of folks are busy, and an accident happens, and you go to the doctor, but you get busy with life, and maybe you're not sleeping that well, or you have headaches, and you kind of put that decision off. I'd contact somebody as soon as possible, because the sooner that you contact a lawyer, the sooner they can begin, the investigation in the case, contacting witnesses, preserving evidence, and, locating things that'll help you. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess it's kind of like asking, going to the barber and asking if you need a haircut. But I would encourage people to contact a lawyer as soon as possible. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and the reason why I asked that was because often the first people you call is law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got into an auto accident on the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
followed by I need to call my insurance company, and I'm not going to lie, I've had my share of incidents on
Right.
the road. I've
Sure.
been a pretty good driver, actually.
Yeah,
I've never
sure.
called you, so. But the insurance companies seem to, yours will always look out for you, generally. But if you ever have to contact the other ones, you're kind of, it almost seems rushed through the process. And it kind of makes you unnerving. Like, why do I need to give a statement? Is this, going to be recorded? Yes, I get it. Should a individual contact a lawyer before they contact the insurance company?
Yeah.
Or is that
yeah.
okay? Can you retroactively fix any potential harm that you, the individual, might have done to themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. We get that question quite a bit. If you find yourself in an accident, and normally the insurance company, the other person's insurance company, they're fairly aggressive about wanting to get a recorded statement from you. I tell my clients to hold off on that, to come, talk to an attorney. We'll sit down, and then the attorney can speak with the adjuster. And if you make it may be that you want to change your mind and give a recorded statement at another time, but you can do that after consulting and speaking with your lawyer, and or at least having them present for that statement. A lot of times people will give a statement, in their car or on their cell phone when the service is bad, and they're thinking about a million other things and concentrating on driving or picking up their kids from school or something like that. So normally encourage people to take a deep breath, get some legal advice, and really make a smart decision about giving that recorded statement, and have your lawyer present and help you with that.
Okay. Now, in your experience, and you really can't answer this, but given your experience, do insurance companies try to trip you up in their best interest, or is that just kind of, the guy on the other end of the phone doesn't really matter. He's doing his job, his or her job,
Yeah, I guess, Chris, that's a good question too. Yeah, I mean, they seem friendly, right? And most of the time they call, and they're nice people, and a lot of it depends on the individual adjuster. I know they're hardworking people, but they have their company's interest in mind. So you got to remember that, and they're oftentimes very pleasant, but they definitely have they're advocates for their own companies, and they want to a lot of times minimize their insured's responsibility in the case. So yeah, you need to take a deep breath, talk to a lawyer, and that lawyer can give you a better idea of how to go about speaking with them or not speaking with them.
Okay, well, that's great information. We need to take a quick break though. Jeremiah, real quick, if someone wanted to get more information on you, where can they get that?
Sure, they can call my office at 407-415-9626. You can also visit my website, jeremiahdallen.com.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Radio Waves. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. Today we're speaking with Jeremiah Allen from the Jeremiah Allen Law Firm, and he's given us some great information, or given me great information, on some things that may be a little cloudy. So before the break, we were talking about the importance of contacting representation early in a car accident. And I think that goes without saying, especially if you're injured in that car accident. Can you speak to us a little bit about how the compensation is valued? Because you see commercials all the time, But when should I contact an attorney, and is it worth it?
Yeah. So your compensation generally, and obviously each case is different, but your compensation is going to be largely based on are your injuries permanent? Or if you got in that auto accident and you healed completely, which is unusual. The human body is not a machine. It's it's not a coffee maker or an automobile. When you fix it, it always doesn't go back perfectly every time. So,
Right.
Are your injuries permanent, or would they clear up? Also, what are your medical bills? Are your medical bills $100,000, or that's going to be a big case? Are your medical bills $1,000 or $2,000? So that's going to make a difference. Did you miss work as a result? And what how much are you compensated at work? So are you a physician who has a high income, or is somebody that makes a little less money every year? So obviously you should be compensated for the time you miss work. If you missed a week, it's going to be a lot less obviously than if you missed 2 years and you're going to not going to be able to work into the future. So those are kind of generally some of the factors that we look for in how somebody's compensated for a case like that.
Okay, and that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And again, it's so convoluted nowadays, so complicated that a lot of times people may get that knee-jerk reaction. I got to call an attorney, but
right, sure,
it's unnecessary. Or I'm fine, and it was necessary, and they never contacted one.
Right. Yeah. So you want to, we get a lot of. I get some calls. I was in an automobile accident and I'm not injured, but my car's damaged. That's going to be something that you're probably going to be able to handle on your own. As long as the insurance company's being fair and they're going to treat you right, and the value of your car, and you can look up and see how much your car's damaged, and you get some estimates from a body shop, that sort of thing. So in that case, you're probably going to be able to handle that yourself. But a lot of times the injuries aren't apparent right away. You have maybe a little headache, or maybe the impact of the auto accident is not a huge. You don't have a lot of property damage to your car. It seemed like a little fender bender, but your neck is really hurting, and you hit your head on the steering wheel, and you're having some problems from that. So it's most of the time you're going to know fairly soon, if you're injured, but there's also certain circumstances where that pain is a little delayed, or initially you're not hurt, you wake up the next day and you're feeling a lot different. So it's important to get the right medical treatment. And if there's any doubt about your physical condition after an accident, and go see somebody and get it straightened out and get to the bottom of it.
So what types of cases generally do you need an attorney, right? If I get a speeding ticket, I don't need an attorney for that.
Yeah, you may.
But if
not,
I have 30,
right,
maybe I should.
Might be a different story. Yeah.
Right.
On the like the speeding ticket example, I represent people for things like that. A lot of people, want to keep points off their license, so they want to avoid, if you pay the ticket in full, you're going to have some points on your driver's license. You can fight it. You can have an attorney for a pretty reasonable price go into court and handle that. Or what they'll do is set that case for a hearing, and then the police officer, law enforcement officer, will show up, and then you can decide at that hearing whether you want to enter a plea and take, the lawyer will do this for you, and take responsibility for it. You can ask the judge for what they call withhold of adjudication, in which case, if the judge agrees, you can pay the fine and not get points on your license. You can also fight it. You have, a right to, a trial with a bench trial in a speeding ticket case. You can have a little hearing there to decide if you actually violated the Florida traffic laws. So yeah, there's some things you can do. Like you said, that guy with 30 speeding tickets. If he pays the fine, he's going to be looking probably at increased auto insurance. because of that. So, we fair amount of careless driving cases as well. If you're driving and you hit another car or piece of property or something, the police officer is going to give you a ticket for that. So, a lot of times people want to hire a lawyer for things like that because it wasn't. A lot of cases, it's not their fault. The other driver was at fault, so they want to have a lawyer help them out there. So, yeah, you can definitely fight those civil, what we call civil citations if you choose to.
Okay. And we've already touched base on this a little bit, but can any attorney represent you? Say that family lawyer.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. If you have that family lawyer, you can speak with them, and a lot of times it's a way to find the best person for the job. So if you've got a connection with a lawyer from church or somebody your family members used before, you can talk to them and say, hey, this is my situation. Can you handle that? Or would it be best for me to find somebody else? And most attorneys are real honest people, so they'll point you in the right direction if they're not the right person for it. So.
Okay. Now let's say you're unfortunate or you've done something and you have been arrested. Is there a way to protect your record?
Yeah, there is. A lot of the clients, I think a lot of people have a misconception that criminal defense attorneys are, always dealing with these very, very serious cases, and sometimes we are.
Yeah, law and order.
Law and order, or Perry Mason. A lot of times it's a lot of young people make mistakes. Either they'll take something from a store, or they'll have a little too much to drink and get in the car, or decide to use marijuana or something like that. So people that make those one-time mistakes are a lot of times the folks who call me, and a lot of times they'll be this is their first time getting in trouble, and I think every county in Florida, or at least every county I've been in, they have certain programs. They have diversion programs, what they call pretrial intervention programs. So a lawyer can request from the state and the judge that you enter into these programs, and it's kind of like your one free chance. You messed up. If you don't have a prior record and it's not a serious case, you can get in this program, do some community service, pay a fine, take some classes, and then the prosecutor, if you complete that successfully, usually it's a 6-month to a year program, they'll dismiss your case at the end of that. So it's a good way for people who have that the minor crime, and they don't have a bad record. They can go through this program with the help of a lawyer and do everything right, and it's not going to come back to bite them when they apply for a job, hopefully, or be on their permanent record.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about the Fifth Amendment?
Yeah, I mean, this is that's a topic that's come up quite a bit lately. You have, we always, a lot of the other constitutional amendments are pretty famous, and we hear a lot about the First and the Second Amendment, right?
Sure.
But the Fifth Amendment's also important. So, you have a right to remain silent. Our forefathers, put protections in our Constitution that, you don't have to in a trial, you don't have to take the stand and testify if you don't want to. And also, if you're approached by a police officer, you have the right to remain silent, and you can choose to exercise that Fifth Amendment right at any point. So that's important to remember, and that's one of the great constitutional protections that we have.
I could not agree more. I think there might be a fear that if someone goes that route, there may be repercussions from it. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a fear, right? If you remain silent, that something that bad could happen to you. Again, going back, and we don't need to talk about lawyers the whole time, but if you can exercise that right to remain silent, and then speak with a qualified attorney and have them be your advocate, have them tell the prosecution and the police officer your side of the story. So that's a good way to do it, and then that statement can't be used against you. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, you want to you want to blurt things out, but it's best to kind of let cooler heads prevail, and you can, if you choose to, exercise that constitutional right.
Okay. Now, recently I had a friend who forgot about a notice to appear that he had.
Right.
Now, and a lot of times I imagine people just go, it's a notice to appear, I don't know what it's about. I don't have time for that. It wasn't my accident, maybe they were just a witness. Do you have to appear if you get a notice to appear?
Yeah, generally, what happens, and for a lot of these kind of smaller crimes, I see it a lot in marijuana cases. You won't get arrested. You'll be giving it what they call notice to appear, but you'll need to appear for an arraignment at a particular courthouse for that charge. It's still a criminal charge, even though you don't go to the county jail, but you need to appear there, speak with a judge, and then you can enter a guilty plea or not guilty plea. So yeah, it's important to remember, take those notices to appear seriously. It's not like a speeding ticket. It's not like it's not like a careless driving ticket. They are criminal charges. It's just a way to deal with the case without processing somebody through the jail system. If it's a minor offense, they don't have a bad record, a lot of times the police officers will just give you that notice to appear. But if you don't appear, the judge can issue a warrant, and bad things can happen. So
take it serious.
Yeah, and if you have, if you think that you may have missed a court date, or you're not unsure of a court date, you can, in most counties now, you look up your name online, see it there. If there's any other questions, you can call the clerk of the court's office. Sometimes they can point you in the right direction.
So at least follow up.
Follow up.
Else.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah,
it's not going to go away.
No. So that just about does it for us today. If someone wanted to get information from you or contact you, maybe for their own legal purposes, where can they get that information?
Yeah, they can call my office. My number is 407-415-9626. They can also visit my website, jeremiahdallen.com. So Allen's Allen.
All right. Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
And I hope you enjoyed it. And this has been Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.